Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's video lecture, and we're covering the cardiovascular system, the heart. So let's go ahead and begin. So first, we're going to begin with location of the heart. It's located in the cavity that is called mediastinum. So let me pick up my pen. Now this area over here, this is mediastinum. This is a part of thoracic cavity, and inferior part of mediastinum is called pericardial cavity, and this is where your heart sits in. So sits in the pericardial cavity. This superior part is called superior mediastinum. Now you can see this is diaphragm, those are lungs, and this is right lung, and this is left lung. So left lung is a little bit smaller than right one because it has the structure called cardiac notch. So your heart is not exactly in the middle, but it's a little bit towards left, and it pushes inside this cardiac notch. Your heart is approximately the size of a fist. Okay, so now if we look at the heart, internal structure of the heart, we can see that it's made of 4 chambers. We have 2 superior chambers. We call them atria. So we have right atrium and left atrium, and those are receiving chambers, and they push blood to ventricles. Now, inferior chambers are ventricles. We have right ventricle and left ventricle, and there is a separation between 2 of them, right? This is called interventricular septum. And there is also separation between atria, and it's called interatrial septum. Also, we have 4 valves. We have this valve shown over here, and this valve, we call them AV valve. So this is A for atria, and this is V for ventricles. So it's AV valve, right AV valve, left AV valve. Another name for right AV valve is tricuspid valve. Another name for left AV valve is bicuspid valve or mitral valve. And we have 2 semilunar valves. We can only see one over here, but we will have another picture, and you will see another semilunar valve. This one is aortic valve, and the second one will be pulmonary. Now, job of your heart is to pump blood, and your heart pumps blood into 2 circuits. So we have pulmonary circuit, and your blood goes from the heart to the lungs, get rid of carbon dioxide, picks up oxygen, and returns back to the heart. So that's a pulmonary circuit. Pulmonary means lungs. And another circuit, blood goes from the heart to your body, including your head and neck and arms and legs, and even your lungs, but I don't want to confuse you. Goes to your entire body, brings oxygen to your cells, pick up waste product, carbon dioxide, right, and returns back to the heart. And this is called systemic circuit. And it's called systemic because you carry blood to body systems, like to digestive system, to urinary system, nervous system, and so on. Right, so pulmonary circuit between heart and lungs, systemic circuit between heart and body. And another thing I want you to keep in mind, so what is the difference between artery and vein? By definition, artery is a blood vessel that carry blood away from the heart. So artery, just remember, away. So for example, this is aorta, and it's carry blood away from the heart. So by definition, it's artery. And now look this one. This is your pulmonary trunk, and then pulmonary, well, arteries, obviously. So this is the blood vessels that carry blood away from the heart too, so we call it artery. And the blood vessels that bring blood back to the heart, like this one and this one, we call them veins. So this is our vena cava, vena cava, so superior inferior vena cava. And also right there, look at these blood vessels, carries blood away to the heart. So those are pulmonary veins. Now also we use different colors to represent oxygenated and deoxygenated blood. So blue color is used for carbon dioxide rich blood. So this blood is deoxygenated, and red color is used for oxygenated blood. So you can see that in systemic circuit, arteries carry oxygenated blood and veins carry or return back deoxygenated blood. But in the pulmonary circuit, it's opposite. Arteries carry deoxygenated blood away from the heart to the lungs, and veins carry oxygenated blood from the lungs to the heart. So it's important to keep it in mind. Okay, so let's look at this circulation in more details. So we're gonna start with right atrium. So here's our right atrium. Then we have valve over here, and this is our tricuspid valve. Then blood goes to the right ventricle, and it goes through another valve, and this is pulmonary valve, and then pulmonary trunk, then pulmonary arteries, smaller vessels, and then pulmonary capillaries, and that's to the lungs, right? Then within capillaries, we have exchange. So you can see carbon dioxide move out of your blood picks up oxygen, and then we're gonna bring this blood back to the heart. So we go to capillaries to small venules, and then we go to pulmonary veins. We go to left atrium. We have valve over here that is bicuspid valve or mitral valve. And then we go through another valve, and now it's aortic valve and aorta. Aorta will bring, aorta has lots of branches. So those are still pretty large blood vessels, and we go to smaller blood vessels, then arterioles, and then capillaries of your body. All right, we leave oxygen to your cells. We pick up carbon dioxide from your cells, and from capillaries to small venules to medium veins to bigger veins and large veins, like superior, this is by the way inferior and superior vena cava, back to the right atrium. Right, so anyway, so this one over here is our pulmonary circulation, and this is our systemic circulation. Okay, now let's look at membranes of the heart. So, so your heart is inside pericardium, and a pericardium covers your heart. So we have a fibrous pericardium that is dense connective tissue that protects heart and maintain position of the heart. Now underneath we have serous pericardium, and serous pericardium is made of two layers. We have a parietal layer, so it's parietal pericardium, and visceral pericardium. Between them we have pericardial cavity and serous fluid inside this cavity. Now, mesothelium is a tissue similar to epithelium that's made this serous pericardium and secretes serous fluid. Right now, so we have, let's repeat, fibrous pericardium, then parietal pericardium, visceral pericardium. Another name for visceral pericardium is epicardium. Then we have muscle, and this is myocardium. And then we have endocardium, and it's also tissue similar to epithelium, only it's endothelium, and it's cover your heart inside, right? And then we have heart chambers. atria and ventricles. Okay, now what else we can, what other feature or its surface feature we can see? So we have auricles. So auricle is, you know, like structure over here. It's a leaf-like structure that sits on the top of atria, and it can fill with blood, and it can increase the volume of atria. Then we have sulci. So this shown here in green, and over here, this is a coronary sulcus. This is anterior view of the heart. So this sulcus is anterior interventricular sulcus. Inter means between, so it's between ventricles. And this is posterior view, and we have posterior interventricular sulcus. Now, look at layers of the heart. Some of it we already covered. So, for example, we have epicardium, right? Then we have myocardium, and we have endocardium. And you can see the muscles, musculature of atria and ventricle. So it has very complex pattern of cardiac muscle cells. So it shows over here. Now, myocardium, this is the histology slide. It's a muscle tissue, right? It's a cardiac muscle. We already covered cardiac muscles. So those are branching cells, and they're striated and they're uninucleated. So they have one nucleus, and they have this, what's shown here in the dark lines. This is called intercalated disc, and they connect two adjacent cells together. So if you look at this intercalated disc, it's actually is made of, so here's a junction between two cells. So we have desmosomes over here and gap junctions. And this will allow electrical impulse to move from one cell to another cell without much delay. So we don't have a chemical synapse over here. We have electrical synapse. So cells are connected through intercalated disc, and because they have these channels, gap junctions, ions can move through these channels, allow electrical signal move from one cell to another cell pretty quickly. Also, if you look at a muscle of right ventricle and left ventricle, you can see that left ventricle has way larger muscle. It's very thick muscle. And this is because left ventricle pumps blood to your entire body, and right ventricle pumps blood to your lungs. So the left ventricle must generate more pressure. That's why it has that thicker muscle wall. Now on this diagram, we can see lots of external structure of the heart. All right, so I don't even know if I start. Let me see. Either I do this, and then the rest of this chapter I record another video, because it's gonna be a really long video then. Okay, yeah. Let's just. I will go over the next 3 slides, right, and then I will record another video after that, because that's a lot over here to cover. Let's start with the heart first, with chambers. So this is right atrium, and this see like ear shaped structure. This is right auricle. Now this is a left atrium, and this one is a left auricle. So auricle sits on the top of atria. So if it says this is auricle of left atrium, that means, well, here's the atrium and this is the auricle. Right, so that's, you can call it right atrium, but if a point points to this ear-shaped structures, then you call it auricle. Now, this one over here, this is ventricle, and this is right ventricle, this is left ventricle, And what separates ventricle right here is anterior interventricular sulcus, right? This is our coronary sulcus. You already remember that. This is called apex of the heart. And over here, where all these blood vessels are, this is the base of the heart. Okay, so far, I think it's pretty good. Now let's look at this blood vessel. So this blood vessel is called pulmonary trunk. Pulmonary should tells you this blood will go to your lungs. Then pulmonary trunk bifurcates into left, and over here will be right pulmonary arteries, and you go to the lungs. And you see it's a blue color, just tells you they carry deoxygenated blood, right? But this is still arteries because blood goes away from the heart. Now this is your aorta, like the biggest blood vessel of your body. And the first part is called ascending aorta. Then we have aortic arch, and then we have descending aorta, and it will go all the way down. Now, if you look at the aorta, you have three branches from aortic arch. It's a brachiocephalic trunk. Then you have a left common carotid artery. It's this one. And this one is left subclavian artery. Now, pulmonary trunk and aorta has the connection over here. It's called ligamentum arteriosum. Another blood vessel we can see gonna be veins, right? So this is called superior vena cava, and this is inferior vena cava. Now those are pulmonary veins. So we have four of them. We have two left pulmonary veins and two right pulmonary veins. Another important feature that we will learn anyway are those blood vessels, and those are coronary blood vessels. So those are blood vessels that supply your heart with oxygen. And this red blood vessel here is right coronary artery, and this short blood vessel over here is a left coronary artery, and they both branch from aorta. This blood vessel over here is called anterior interventricular artery. So it's right here. And this artery is circumflex artery. And veins, this is a great cardiac vein. This is anterior cardiac vein. This is another anterior cardiac vein. And this is small cardiac vein. So we have great cardiac vein, and we have a small cardiac vein, and we have anterior cardiac veins. I think that's pretty much it for this picture. Okay, so now let's look at posterior view. Now, posterior view, we have, pretty much the same stuff, right? With some, extra blood vessels that we need to remember. So again, this is apex. Now, because this is a posterior view, this sulcus is called posterior interventricular sulcus. And inside the sulcus, you will have posterior interventricular artery right here, and you will have middle cardiac vein. This is still our great cardiac vein that coming from the anterior part, so great cardiac vein. This is our middle cardiac vein. And this blood vessel over here called coronary sinus, and coronary sinus empties blood to the right atrium. So you can see opening of the inferior vena cava. You can see pulmonary veins. So that's left, those are right pulmonary veins. You can see also the superior vena cava over here, aorta, and left and right pulmonary arteries. Okay, so what else? I just making sure I didn't miss anything. Okay, I guess that's it. And this is our, right coronary artery that comes from anterior side as well. So that's good so far. And now we're looking at the coronal section. And again, from now on, all this should be very familiar, right? So, so here's our right atrium, left atrium, a right ventricle, a left ventricle. You can see how thick the wall of the left ventricle is compared to the right ventricle. Now we can see our valves. That this is tricuspid valve, this is bicuspid valve. They attached to these muscles, and muscles look like nipples, so we call them papillary muscles, and they attach through structure called chordae tendonae. So we have tricuspid valve, chordae tendonae, papillary muscles, bicuspid valve, chordae tendonae, papillary muscles. So here's our intraventricular sulcus. Now this is pulmonary trunk, right? We go to lungs. Those are pulmonary artery, left and right. And this is pulmonary valve. And this is our aorta. And this is aortic valve right there. So here's our 4 valves. And we have inferior vena cava again. We have pulmonary veins here and over here. Those are left. Those were right. There is some depression here called fossa ovalis, and it was actually opening between right and left atria during prenatal development, and then it's closed up and it became fossa ovalis. And another thing that we need to know over here, we have muscles on the wall of atria, and it's called pectinate muscles. And we have muscles in ventricles called trabeculae corneae. So those are chordae tendonae, and those are trabeculae corneae, and this is pectinate muscles. So I think that's it. Let me see if you have anything on. Yeah. Okay. Right, so this is where I will stop, and then I record another video because I don't want those videos to be too long, right? Well, thank you for watching, and I hope it was helpful.